Good afternoon to everyone. Welcome to our digital transformation webinar. We have a treat this afternoon. Great speakers on everybody's contributing to digital transformation. I would like to welcome all our viewers from the region. We are live at 6 p.m. Trinidad time, 5 p.m. Jamaican time, and of course 4 p.m. Belize time. So once again, welcome to all our regional viewers. We welcome everyone to be part of this very interesting conversation, digital transformation, and how indeed it is so relevant in today's time. More and more, we need to understand digital transformation and how it impacts on our business, how it impacts on our operations, how it impacts on our lives. So each of the speakers here today will contribute from their particular industry what we have to do with digital transformation and how we can improve and how we can sustain our business and not only sustain, but how we can probably innovate and come about with new ideas, because this is the world of work, and this is the world that we are in right now, digital transformation, and how we could become more innovative and do things so much differently and improve. So to start this whole conversation, the key really to digital transformation is re-envisioning and driving change in how the company operates. That's a management and really a people challenge, not just a technology one. So this is how we're going to take this whole conversation. Every speaker is coming to share their particular views on digital transformations from their company. But in all the presentations, we would see it's about change, it's about people, it's about the client. It's much more than just technology alone. So without any further, ado, as they say, I'd like to introduce the first speaker, Carla Williams Johnson, who will be introducing digital transformation. Carla is a media marketing specialist based in Trinidad and Tobago. She founded Carly Communications, which offers advertising and marketing advice to entrepreneurs and business owners who are interested in building a business in the real world. She considers herself an advocate for businessmen and women who were desirous of promoting themselves by offering sound, unbiased advice, focusing mainly on methods to identify ideal clients, and of course, online and offline approaches to boosting your visibility and the creation of practical marketing campaigns designed to increase revenue. Carla has been asked to share her knowledge with numerous media, including Forbes, Post, Thrive, Global, the Trinidad and Tobago Newsday, and Express newspaper. She has also been named one of the marketers to follow for 2020, as well as recently awarded Best Promotions Company, West Indies, at this year's Media Innovative Awards, as compiled by Corporate Vision magazine out of the United Kingdom. So Carla, off to you. I mean, we have a little celebrity with us right here, amongst our speakers. Welcome, Carla.
Oh my goodness,
over to you now. Over to you now.
My goodness, Shivani, thanks so much for that wonderful introduction, and welcome everyone to this fabulous, fantastic free webinar where we discuss digital transformation. Because as you know, right now, that is where the world is heading. That's where we need to be. That's what we need to go to. And that's what we all need to understand as we move forward. So I could not find a better picture than this to basically explain why digital transformation is important right now. Many people, many businesses owners, many entrepreneurs felt that, it was necessary, but then along came COVID and just literally like a wrecking ball and just changed everything that we knew or we thought we knew about getting online, being digital, understanding what it is that we needed to do. So while a lot of us feel like, we have maybe another 3 years, another 4 years, we maybe have 3 or 4 weeks or 3 or 4 days to basically transform our businesses. Because if we don't get on the train right now, we're not only going to be left behind, but chances are we're going to be forgotten. And when it comes to business and it comes to marketing, the last thing we need to do is be forgotten in business. So if we'll just go to the next slide, we will understand why digital transformation is important right now. Because never has there been such a time when it's so crucial for brands to stay relevant and stay connected to what their customer wants and needs. And this is from Mark Evans. Now, a lot of people think, oh, marketing, we are really supposed to be leading the change when it comes to digital transformation because we have our hands in everything. We know what the company is doing. We know the direction we want to go in. We know what our customers are doing. And because of COVID and this global pandemic, we have an idea that customers' wants and needs and preferences and buying habits have all changed. The way they consume media has now changed. We have moved from basically hard selling into relationships and forming relationships, which is why digital transformation really should focus on the customer. So as we move to the next slide, I will say to you, digital transformation really has to begin and end with the customer in mind. So if we have to talk about redefining our digital channels to gain deeper insights. And by insights, we're talking about data, we're talking about understanding their needs, wants, and preferences, and understanding how what we do is directly related to what they want. And also, we're going to use the data that we've gathered to improve the customer's journey. Because at the end of the day, I'll say it now, I'll say it forever, it's always about what the customer wants, because at the end of the day, the customer is who has us in business right now. So the next slide, I'm going to share with you 4 very simple super steps to achieve ultimate transformation. And this is not something that is very daunting. I know when people hear the term digital transformation, they think, oh my God, so much. I'm going to break it down for you in 4 simple steps that you can do right now to make the necessary changes that you need. So step 1, let's define, refine, and optimize. So by that, I mean, let's assess all our current marketing tools and channels. Now, a lot of people, when they think digital and they think, we need to move online and we need to do all of these technology and stuff, they stick with either social media or they think website and social media. That's not entirely true. We have to look at everything. We have to look at our website, our social media channels, automation tools, customer management systems, analytics, every single thing. And we need to decide if we need to better leverage these platforms or if there are better options. Because let's face it, technology is always evolving. So is there something that we can use that might be better? Or can we up-level what it is that we already have? So once we do a review of these tools and these channels, we can make the necessary changes. Because at the end of the day, remember what I said, it's always about how we connect and build relationships with our customers. So we're on to step 2. Step 2 is we need to get intentional with implementation. Now, this is something that I've seen a lot of people struggle with when it comes to promoting and building a brand and moving into the whole digital arena, because a lot of people just seem to go however, whenever, but you must have a strategy in place. I mean, when it comes to marketing and building a business and building a brand and connecting with your customers, you must have a strategy. Desperation is not a strategy, right? And I know there are a lot of people that may feel, oh my God, I need to do this and I need to do that. But sometimes just taking a step back and understanding, okay, this is the plan that I need to implement, and this is where the plan is going to lead, is really how you get intentional with your implementation. So be very clear about what your overall goal is and have the specific tactics and key performance indicators in mind to ensure you stay on point. And those key performance indicators can be indicators that you have set yourself in order to make sure that you stay on track and you stay focused on what it is that you would like to achieve. Step 3 on our journey: up level and upgrade. Because now that we've reviewed all the tools and we've refined everything that we need to do, and we know all the systems we're going to put in place, all the analytics we're going to look at, all the social media channels we're going to employ, and every single thing that we've done, and we're now clear on what we have to do, we can now easily identify all the weak spots and opportunities for improvement. So this is where you would hear us marketers talking about SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So for a lot of people, COVID would have seemed like a threat. Oh my God, how am I going to do this? But for a lot of companies who understood that they needed to move to the digital arena, they now see this as an opportunity to pivot, to change. A lot of business owners decided, they were going to shut down or they were going to stop for different reasons. But there are a lot of business owners who understood that they needed to pivot, to change, to make, to employ different things that they can do in order to stay relevant and also to connect with their customers. So always look for the opportunities in everything. And once you up level and upgrade, you'll also be able to provide a more personalized and relevant experience for all your potential and current customers. And step number 4, evolve. As I mentioned before, technology is always changing, new things are happening. We cannot revolve at this point. We cannot be running in circles. We can't be doing the same things over and over and expecting different results. We need to evolve, because as things continue, new technologies are introduced, and we must be able to improve to remain relevant to and of service to our customers. So by all means, please stay up to date with the latest marketing trends and maybe dabble in a couple new practices every so often to keep your brand at the forefront for digital years to come. Because guys, this is never going to stop. This will always keep going. So on to the next slide. Final thoughts. We need to take small steps in the right direction. A lot of business owners, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of people out there think, oh my God, digital transformation, I need to get everything done. I need to have everything perfect. I need to do all of these things before I make a step. This is not how marketing works, and this is not how the world works. This is not how digital transformation works. Transformation basically means we are transforming, and it will never end. So we must take strategic small steps towards our larger goal and reject these waterfall models, which basically means that you have to do everything before you make a step. At the end of the day, we have to embrace a more agile marketing, which delivers changes in small chunks over time. And that way you can make the necessary changes as you move along, and you will see strategic growth as you move forward with your business. So there you have it. Next slide. There you have it. That is digital transformation in 4 easy steps from a marketing perspective. I am Carla Johnson. And if you have any questions, queries, or comments, please feel free to leave it in the chat, Facebook or YouTube, wherever you're joining us from, and I'll be happy to answer at the end of this webinar. Thanks again.
Thank you very much, Carla. Very interesting presentation. You spoke about a couple of my favorite words there. But before I tell you what are some of my favorite words, and I'm seeing Shazim is smiling and Vivian and Janelle because they know very well what are my favorite words from this conversation, right? But just to remind all our viewers, we have a lot on YouTube and a lot on Facebook. Are there any questions? As we said, please feel free to type it in the chat. These pages are being monitored by a number of persons, and of course, we will answer the questions throughout the presentation. So feel free to type it in, and we'll definitely answer your questions. Carla, one thing, a key takeaway I'm taking away, you know, some of your key takeaways, right? Your points. You spoke a lot about the customer. And I want to stop and really converse about the customer. You know, we keep hearing the word digital transformation, and immediately everybody is talking, you know, thinking, what are they thinking about? They are really thinking about technology and IT and app and mobile and everything. And you're hearing all organizations throughout the Caribbean, throughout the world. This is what we have to do. We have to change. We have to get on board, as we said. But the first thing is to always keep in mind the people, the customers. I fully agree with you. And it just triggered a term in my head, design thinking model for, you know, in all different sectors. We always preach that term, as you know me so well, Carla, to always preach this term, digital transformation. You want to do digital transformation, but you have to talk about design thinking. And design thinking in all industries, it really keeps the customer in mind. You talk about the client, you talk about the person. You want to develop a new concept, you're talking about strategic planning, because this is what it is for your organizations. Digital transformation, this is strategic planning. But we have to apply a concept from the customer point. What does the customer want? How are we going to make it easier for them if we use digital transformation? Many of us may implement technology, but is it really working? Are we taking into consideration? It is from the client's point. It is from the organization. It's from the customer. So, you know, that was a main thing that I'm taking from your presentation, Carla, design thinking and keeping focus on the customer. And I'm sure as we go through our webinar series, we definitely will speak about design thinking in digital transformation as time progresses, as we go on to future webinars under this theme. So, you know, that was one of my key takeaway, but I have so much. You of course, you use my favorite word again, agile. How many of my colleagues, you know, everybody, friends, everybody, you know, I keep talking about planning. Everybody wants to plan, Carla. You want to plan, but you know, you spoke about the waterfall approach in planning, where people now, what they have to do, they say, okay, I have to have the entire plan before I could implement anything. And guess what, Carla? By the time they implement the plan, but it's obsolete. It's obsolete. And we know that could happen in our digital transformation if we wait. So, you know, Shazim smiling, I'm watching him smiling because he knows about agile, and his presentation is going to be so relevant as he comes on board. But agile thinking, it's a concept that we can break out. We can chunk out, as you said. You don't think about digital strategy and get overwhelmed. You think about it in pieces, and you did it so well when you spoke about the 4 steps. The 4 steps, you are chunking it out. That's what we're saying, chunk it out. That's a favorite word of mine in agile. Chunk it out, small pieces. And the term, think big, but start small. Think big, but start small. So all of us, we want to do digital transformation, as you correctly said, and we have to do it. We have to do it. We want to be even more sustainable. We want to do it. But we need to ensure what? We need to ensure that we have a plan. We know the overall plan. However, We are not going to implement everything one time. You know, engineering, the two engineers are going to come up, they will talk about it from a phased approach, a phased approach. Everything is a phase and a phase and a phase, which is true. So design thinking, agile thinking, two very, very, very relevant concepts I am taking away from your presentation in how we can really implement digital transformation. We do not have to think about it as something that is going to take us 10 years to do. We can chunk it out in pieces. And by the time we do put things in place, we can see some value. We can see some value. So taking points from you again, digital transformation, how are we going to implement it? We are really implementing it in chunks, in pieces. We have an overall plan, but we are thinking about the customer. Always remember, Carla, as you correctly said, think about the customer. So thank you very much, Carla. And I'm sure we're going to have loads of questions. You know, everybody is thinking, okay, we have a celebrity with us here. So definitely, actually, we have a question already. Okay, so Chandadi Chukri from YouTube is asking, good evening, everyone. Will this presentation be shared with us after the webinar? Definitely, once you have registered, we will be sharing the presentation. We will be sharing the presentation. So once you have registered with us, you will get the presentation. And even if you didn't, at the end, I'll put up an email address that you could just ask for it, and definitely we will send it to you. So I'm very glad that this question was asked. It means, you know, Carla, people are so very interested in it. They want to see the presentation. Thank you, Chandadi. So we move on to the second presentation. Right, another very interested presentation. Everybody is going to really want to ask a lot of questions with this. So let me introduce now Mr. Shakim Suban, who is from the Ministry of Works and Transport in Trinidad and Tobago. And everyone will have loads of questions to ask about Ministry of Works and Transport, Shakim. You know, that is always a controversial, not a controversial topic, an interesting topic, right? On Ministry of Works and Transport and what are we doing with digital transformation. So before Shakim takes the floor, I just want to, you know, introduce him. Shakim is an engineer at the Ministry of Works and Transport. He comes with over 14 years of experience in the field of project management, program management, using a lot of the agile concepts. And of course, he's an electrical engineer by trade. So the industry that he's from, he is using a lot of different techniques in how we can improve it and how we can actually grow and become more innovative. So definitely, Shakim, we wait to hear from you. Shakim has lots of experience coming from procurement and facilities management and project management, electrical designs. Shakim, you told me you have over 14 years experience, but I'm looking at you here and I'm thinking, is that true? 14 years? You're not looking as if you have 14 years of experience, the facial, right? But thanks again, Shakim. So definitely, over to you now, Shakim.
Okay, thank you so much, Shivani, for that most welcome. Presenters, fellow presenters, project team members, and also viewers from the Caribbean and throughout the world. Well, my name is Shakim Suban. I work at the Ministry of Works and Transport. I would like to share my experience or my knowledge on digital transformation and how it has impacted me at the Ministry of Works and Transport and what we are doing in terms of transforming the ministry. As my fellow presenter said before, Carla, it's all about, it is customer focus, because at the ministry, we have to listen to the customer and what they want. And of course, we change to what they need. So we have to find a way to implement some sort of systems to ensure that we meet the customer needs at the end of the way. Of course, with COVID among us and also economic challenges, it is very difficult to sustain what we have. So we have to find different ways or different intuitive ways of getting a system that works for the people and works for us at the organization. So let's go forward with the presentation. Um, Next slide, please. So right, so this presentation basically has 4 points, 4 objectives, I would say. What do we really mean by digital transformation? And as I said, how does it apply to the Ministry of Works and Transport? And I would like to share some of some of the initiatives that where I work at the maintenance division, what we are doing in terms of developing the overall plan. As I said, it's basically a number of divisions come together to basically work on or developing or rolling out the strategic plan the ministry has set. But we will see it in the slides to come. And of course, I will discuss some examples that the ministry have already started, which has been implemented and is ongoing. All right. So let's go to the next slide, please. Right. So when I think of digital transformation, we look at the quotation here, and it says quite clearly, 40% of all businesses will die in the next 10 years. So that means we have to figure out a way how to change in order to accommodate new technologies. This is according to John Chambers from Cisco Systems. So what he is saying is that if we don't keep or change our business in a digital platform or digital direction, we will fail. So we have to keep with the times, and we have to ensure that we don't collapse as an organization, especially a ministry that provides services to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. So the takeaway here that I took from it is technology is the way forward and is only accessible through digitization. All right, let's go to the next slide. Right, so as I mentioned before, the ministry has a set strategic plan. As you can see the information here, it has been set for 2019 to be rolled out from 2019 to 2024. It has been approved, and we have started some aspects of it. In doing so, the ministry will have to meet these objectives. Now, it is a very massive system where it is a number of divisions throughout the ministry, and we now have our small part to play in this whole strategic plan. So we will see in the next slides exactly what I'm talking about. Next slide, please. Right, so just to be specific in terms of exactly why we want to change. We need to change because to create an enable environment that will support the processes, of course, enhance the operational environment. And one of our main things is change management. It has to be done, but it has to be done in a strategic way. So this is basically the purpose for the change at the ministry right now, and this is what we set out to do. Let's go to the next slide. Right, so some of the actions already taken is a planning committee was formed to lead this change management program. We have a change team who underwent in-house training in change management. They created a vision for change, and of course, the ministry's transformation action plan, where each division will have to set out certain objectives and targets of how they intend to achieve this strategic plan, along with the initiatives that were included. And the fifth item is change communication and training strategies has been drafted. All right, so let's go on to the next slide. Maybe I will explore what I am doing from my end. Right, just to give you an idea of what the ministry is focused on. Of course, to be the flagship government agency for sustainable, modernized, and cost-effective eccentric services. Now, we have to be sustainable and we have to modernize our systems. And of course, one way of modernizing our systems is digitizing our processes as depending on a needs basis, and of course, focus on the customer at the end of the day. Next slide, please. Right. So just to touch base on the change vision set out, we have to empower workforce, and that meets the needs of meets the demand of the environment. One of the change that we would have the ministry would have focused on is introducing new methods and new technologies into the world to optimize optimize efficiency. All right, that's a easy buy, because some of the processes are old, and it's very red tape, as you say. It's very long. There's no need for that. We can make it a lot easier for the customers. And the last one, which I love, is create greater synergies among divisions of the ministry. We have a wide range of skill set at the ministry where we can innovate, inspire, and at the end of the day, create a product that is good for the client or for the people of the country. Next slide, please. Right. So the four goals of the change process, as it is outlined here: an empowered workforce, improve operational efficiency, greater synergies among divisions, and becoming a green ministry. Of course, we want to remove the carbons as much as possible. Next slide, please. Right. So just to touch base on this slide, it basically says we must be more efficient in an environmentally friendly manner, where resources are becoming increasingly limited. We have seen that, or we have understood that with the oil and gas, especially in COVID, harsh, difficult economic times. We need change initiatives through the districts, through the ministry. We have to put plans in place to train, educate, guide, and support persons impacted by the change. And the change initiatives, we need the people who will be working around this, which is the people. The people need to tell us exactly what it is they would like to see, or the stakeholders, I should say, the primary stakeholders. So we listen to them, and we work a plan how to make it easier for them to access certain services at the ministry. Next slide, please. Right. So just to touch base on change. Change can happen in different ways. We could do transformation, we could do transition, substitution, but most importantly from this slide, the management of change is to the organizational business processes, physical environment, responsibilities, knowledge, and procedures, right? It is normally organizational wide, but smaller changes do make a difference. The agile approach teaches us that. So just to note, change is not an event, but rather a process. It takes time, it takes effort, but small changes makes a big difference. Next slide, please. Right. So let's get on to exactly what I would like to share with you all from my end in terms of what I am doing, what we are implementing, or what I am leading, I should say. So the type of change, of course, is technology. Moving to a digital platform, making the processes less costlier, and of course, reducing the time a process takes. So just to highlight exactly what the slide says, usually related to making the organization more efficient by streamlining an internal process or improving workflow and productivity. Of course, software, everybody says software, but it's not software alone. It's planning and choosing the right software to replace, to automate a system how you would like. Examples would be changes to your work processes and your IT infrastructure. All right. Next slide, please. Right. So from the strategic plan, that plan would have identified certain objectives, certain goals, certain deliverables, and of course your time frame. So one of the goals that I was responsible for, and I would share with you, is the Ministry of Works and Transport will have a efficient organization structure and operational management systems. All right. I just want to go a little more detail into this slide. Yeah. Next slide, please. Right. As you can see here, item 1, 2, 3, 4. I will just touch base on it quite quickly. Stemming from that goal above, before on the previous slide, one of the objectives we set was to facilitate construction, upgrade, and maintenance of state buildings and facilities. One of the strategic objectives of the maintenance division where I work is to create a modernized maintenance framework for the maintenance division with a computerized maintenance management software. An example would be the WebTMA. If people are not familiar with that, it's a software that manages your asset of any asset that you have in your company. And we at the ministry, at the maintenance, we manage over 100 buildings in terms of providing maintenance services. And we have no software system. And my business, or my option to choose, was to introduce a WebTMA to the ministry, and it will make sure that we can ensure we have a working process around a WebTMA system. Of course, it's a process that's going to take long, but the whole idea behind it is that it is to improve the efficiency of the ministry. Some of the actions would have been to develop a maintenance management framework with the intent of maintaining all Ministry of Works buildings, inclusive of state facilities, schools, and other state facilities. We would have documentation. We have documented all the processes, the policies, standards for modernized operation system, and of course training of the system of the WebTMA, so that the workers can use it properly. Of course, we had performance indicators of how we measure and what sort of output we will get in using this WebTMA. We will have better preventative maintenance plans. We will have a contemporary system. We will have good reports. So let's go to the next slide. We'll highlight exactly how we roll out this objective. Right. So the baseline, as it says here, is a comprehensive model with the required standards of operation and execution plans using the software. We would have started some approvals, which is due this month. Well, sorry, next month, which is a building framework model, and get the relevant authorities to approve it. December and March and June, we would have the different set targets that we would have want to achieve. This is an ongoing process. Just to touch base on it is, consensus of the number of potential state facilities to be maintained, December 20th. March 21st, develop policies, standards, PM plans. June 21st, develop policies, standards, PM plans. And of course, at the end, we could go to the next slide, please. Yeah. Right. So as I said, I'm in charge of this whole objective, meeting this objective. It's a very large objective. However, it can be done. It has been done in the bigger companies, and it has been done successfully. So there's no reason why the ministry cannot implement something like this. It will help everyone at the organization. Just to touch base on the assumptions that we would have foreseen is, giving people the relevant training, cell phone access with the WebTMA platform, and of course the training and facilities management. We estimated a budget of $1 million, and we identified the funding to get it done. Next page, please. Right. So that was one of the goals on the previous slide that I mentioned that I am in charge of. There are other goals or other objectives, I should say, that each division has to roll out. It is they are implementing their plans, of course, to their bosses and to their supervisors. Just to touch base on some of the initiatives that already exist for people who don't know, is the transformation of the licensing office, which my good friend, the transport commissioner, has been, he has been in this thing for so long and trying his best to ensure that he makes it easier for the customer, because it's really difficult to renew your license, your licensing permits. It's difficult, the long lines, so just to touch base on what the ministry has already done is well, one of the initiatives that they would be doing, and it's ongoing, is the transformation of the licensing office. If you go to the webpage, you will see some of these services that are rendered, and you will see how easily accessible it is for the country, for the citizens of the country. Just to highlight, they have the demerit point system now. So it's, you know, it's something that is it's a point system on your license. You have the U-turn portal cameras. I don't know if many of you all know about that, but yes, they have cameras that take pictures of you, and that will soon be rolled out. You have a traffic ticketing system now, makes it easier to pay a ticket. You have a red light camera system, which will soon be installed. And then you have, you have the last link here, which is the address to the contest certificate, if you think you have been unjust for some reason. All right, so the ministry has been doing a lot of different works. This is just some of the points I would have highlighted. And it's all about digitizing some of the processes. And that is a key take from this presentation. Next slide, please. So thank you very much, viewers, everyone. I hope I was concrete in assisting in terms of contributing towards digital transformation. From my eyes, this is how I see it, and you know, we have to continue to focus on digitizing as much as possible, because it's all about making the process easier for us to work with, and of course, pleasing the customers at the end of the day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shazim, for that wonderful presentation, your perspective on digital transformation, and not only your perspective actually, but from Ministry of Works and Transport. Very, very excellent points, takeaway points. For me, I loved how you start, Shazim, to state that number of businesses will die in the next 10 years if we do not get on board with this digital transformation, yeah? And, you know, it is such a relevant thing now. It's becoming more and more relevant that this is what we have to do. And I'm so interested when you started your whole presentation on change management, because this is something that we preach all the time. You know this all the time. Digital transformation, anything, this is new. This is a change for a lot of organizations. And I love how the Ministry of Works and Transport, their particular strategic plan, is rolling it out. And the first thing, it is a change management initiative. And this is what we have to note in organizations. Digital transformation, and as we keep saying it, and all the speakers here are saying the same thing. You are saying the same thing like Carla. We need to know what is digital transformation, yes, but we are not only rolling it out from a technological perspective, but mainly from people and understanding the relation really with change. And you know this, Shazim, many persons resist change over and over. You know, we resist change. We don't want it. We will come about with everything possible that it will be wrong. So it is a culture, and yes, it could happen. But we as professionals in the business of digital transformation and whatever field that we are coming from, and how we could contribute to the industry, to the profession of digital transformation now, we have to understand a big part is change management. I don't think a big part, no, I think that is the thing, change management. And a concept that I am elaborating on from you, you know, you trigger this in my mind, changing change management. Changing change management, right? At the end of the day, yes, we have to change, but we now have to come about with a new way of change management. And it is really integrated into the agile concept, where yes, you want to roll out, you want to plan, but don't have the entire plan before you could roll out. We are doing it in chunks, in pieces, as you have shown us, yeah? Another main concept I'm taking is the technology aspect, all of the automation. And for change to occur, you need whom? You need people. So we could implement all these wonderful things, you know, all of this nice technology. But if we do not understand it from the people's perspective, as we say, understanding how people now could interact or need to interact to change. We are the change agent too. We have to change as a cultural thing also. This will fail. This will fail. Digital transformation. We will hear that we spend millions of dollars on new technology and new processes. I mean, we are seeing it over and over again. And all the presenters coming on board to follow from you, Shazim, will say the same thing, I'm sure. It is not only investing in technology, but investing in people, looking at it from a customer-centric point. And definitely Ministry of Works, you are doing that. You are looking at the change management and you are rolling out. I also like, how you mentioned about the web TMA, the computer management maintenance system for facilities management. And of course, when you do that, you would look at it from the point, I know this is how you're looking at it, that's why I'm speaking about it. You are looking at it from the point that it is a piece of technology, but ensuring that it will work, because sometimes we implement the technology and guess what? As we continuously say, it does not work because we didn't understand firstly what are our processes. And that's what you were talking about, operational efficiency. Before we go now and digitalize anything, and I know Janelle coming to talk a lot about that, operational efficiency. Do you know what are your processes? Do you know what are your processes? Many persons want to implement digital transformation. We want to implement technology, but you do it from a backward approach. You just say, no, not from a backward, sorry about that, a top-down approach. We say, okay, this is the technology, and we introduce it, and then everybody got to come up and just get trained in to use it. And when you investigate further, it fails because it is not doing the job of increasing or improving the processes. So digital transformation, I'm taking from your presentation, Shazim, it is about change management, understanding it once again from the customer point, from the people point. It is much more than technology, but some wonderful initiatives. And I think in terms of rolling it out from change management, kudos for that, because that has always been in my head, change management and looking at it from the people aspect. So I know we're going to get lots of questions with Ministry of Work and Transport, especially you speaking about licensing office. So I'm treading carefully with that one, Shazim, right? All the best. Thank you. And we will now introduce the third speaker, Mr. Vivian Mahaber. Yeah, Mr. Vivian Mahaber. But before I do that, let me just bring up one question before I bring up Vivian. We have a question here. What are some of the main obstacles, in your opinion, that organizations face during digital transformation? And how can they overcome these pitfalls? So what are some of the main obstacles, in your opinion, that organizations face during digital transformation, and how they can overcome these pitfalls? So I'll leave that and we'll come back to that, right? Or Shazim, you want to take that now? What are some of the main obstacles, in your opinion, that organizations face during digital transformation, and how they can overcome these pitfalls?
Of course, that is a relevant question. That it occurs when people, what they call culturize, in my opinion. They have been working the same way for 20 years, 30 years, and you want them to implement something new, and they don't want change, they resist change. But I firmly believe, from my experience, you explain to them or you train them properly, and you give them the knowledge on why this is going to be easier for you. Maybe that is the start to make it a lot easier for them in the transition. So basically, well, another thing comes to my mind is that they think they're going to lose their job. This machine going to take over their job. They become redundant. Mm-hmm. So that's the first thing they clear out of their mind. That's one. That's not going to happen. Not yet anyway. Maybe later on, but not yet anyway. But most importantly is to make sure that they understand why the transition is happening. And I think a lot of times we don't explain that to them properly. So in my opinion, we explain to them why this is going to make their job a lot easier, and then they have a better understanding of it will impact them. So to me, explaining to them makes it a lot easier for me to manage, the job.
Thank you very much, Shazim, for that. And I totally agree that we have to explain to persons, and it comes back again with leadership, in encouraging persons, making them understand properly what is the reason for doing this. There are a lot of obstacles, as you said. It's change management. There's going to be resistance. It's a culture, as you also said. Persons might think they will lose their jobs, but it is a point that I'm really looking at so much now more than ever with digital transformation. New jobs in the same organization can be created. New jobs can be created. So I think that is a way to get buy-in, that people don't only look at digital transformation, people will lose jobs, but there are new sectors that will be developed. There's new innovation, and we are seeing it so much. There's e-commerce. E-commerce is an industry that is growing. It is a business. A lot of new ideas will come from that. New types of training now for us in New Open Campus, so that we can do more training and definitely create new business. So it is, yes, we may think that digital transformation can eliminate some of us, but we also, as you said too, you have to know its culture, and new jobs can be created from it. So that's how we have to look at it. And definitely we will succeed once we look at it from that point. And organizations need to let people understand that that is our role, that is our responsibility, because we are preaching digital transformation, not from technology only, but from people. So if we are saying we have to consider people, then we have to let our people know in our organizations that is not about people losing jobs, but new jobs can be created, and get buy-in into the concept. Once people are involved in something, and I have seen that in my normal day-to-day job, once people are involved in something, they feel a part of it, they help, they contribute to the decision-making process. And, this is a conversation, Shazim, you and I take all the time, all the time we continue with our talks about it, digital transformation, and how it's definitely going to change how we do business, change management, as you said, but how we will have to move with it. We have to move with it and become more innovative. So thank you very much for that question, and thank you very much for that answer, Shazim. So let's move on now to Vivian Mahabir, our third speaker, who is from NAMDevco, an engineer at NAMDevco, project engineer at NAMDevco, another popular company in Trinidad and Tobago. Persons will have lots of questions here. And I want to just introduce Vivian. Vivian has over 20 years of experience in project management and construction management. He has worked all over in many different industries, as in engineering. He is a part of the project management profession, just like all of the other speakers, actually, part of the project management profession. So just as in electrical engineering, in digital transformation, it is a project here that we are doing, and how we could have success. So there are so many different approaches how we need to look at digital transformation, much more than just technology. And that's what we keep saying, is much more than technology. So Vivian, yes, you said you have over 20 years experience. It probably is in the camera, as we said, it's not showing that you have over 20 years of experience, but I'm sure your tone and your experience will be shown in different ways. So over to you, Vivian.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Shivani, for that humbling introduction. Okay, I'd like to welcome all our listeners and viewers on all different media. What I would do this afternoon is talk about NAMDevco's experience in digitization. And it's an organization I've been with for just under a year. And you may or may not have heard of NAMDevco, but let me just tell you, there are people who involved in all these big markets which you see across the country, who in the north may be familiar with Makoya, who in South may be familiar with the Southern Wholesale Market. Then there's the fish facilities at Sealots and at Orange Valley. And then we have a huge packing house at Piaco where we process different stuff. The first couple slides will give you the perspective of NAMDEVCO and their mandate, right? So you could understand the term of reference of the organization. Okay. As a company, we've been around for quite a while, since 1991. And once you're talking agriculture, NAMDEVCO would have a role to play, and especially with marketing. And marketing in this case, similar to my first colleague who spoke, but we're talking agricultural produce for local, regional, and international consumption. So if you go on to the other slide, and if you can move on to the other slide, right? That's just the vision and mission statement from NAMDEVCO. And through our vision and mission statement, it was realized that everything that we need to digitize must be implemented first by the ICT department in conjunction with the stakeholder demands and the ability to get everyone on board. And so far, they've been quite successful in some of their initiatives. Let's move on. Can we move on? Next slide, please. They've been successful because they have the support of the CEO and the board of directors who fully understand where this world is heading and how we have to adapt digital technology as we go forward. And this is in line with government's vision to have a digital economy for Trinidad and Tobago moving forward and keeping development perspectives of a first world country. And these are just some of the facilities which we operate. Makoya Wholesale Market, for who in the north will be familiar with that, Southern Wholesale Market in Debe. We have fish facilities in Port of Spain and Orange Valley. And then we have a packing house, right? A big facility that processes food to international standards. And these are just some of our facilities, but the larger ones that you may be aware of for all our resident Trinidadians. Let me tell you how NAMDEVCO has integrated digitization in its operations. One of the things that NAMDEVCO has is a web-based application called NAMIS. This collects information on prices of agricultural commodities. It stores it and it shares it, right? All you have to do is log in onto the site and you have all this information that's updated regularly, constantly, with new prices on commodities as well as volumes coming in. Long ago, it used to be enumerators with notepads and clipboards. Now they have handheld devices, which they can upload all the information they pick up quickly, and it saves time. Next slide, please. And people are interested in it because it informs them of prices. And this was a service that was in big demand, especially during past periods, just a couple of years ago, and even recently, where you had high food prices being a complaint of the population. So by just logging in, you can have a very good idea as to what the real prices are in different areas. And this has evolved over the years from just an SMS text and then emails. And it was just a part of a magazine as the original initiative. And then the demand became so great that it was driven by stakeholders wanting this information. What NAMDEVCO has done also is install huge digital boards at Makoya and Southern Wholesale Markets, giving you current prices. So you can make informed decisions when you walk in and you have to spend your hard-earned money. All that's there. A lot of people may not be aware of some of these services being offered, but it's there and it's free. Next slide, please. An app was also developed for smartphones in conjunction in collaboration with the University of the West Indies and is available for Android and iOS devices. So you don't need to walk around with a computer on your smartphone and pull up the prices of commodities in real time, uploaded within hours. And this is just how the organization has shown its adaptiveness to change and has invested in and integrated digitization. Next slide, please. By adopting digitization, we have improved operational efficiencies. What we have as one of our biggest operational efficiency is how traders, wholesalers selling to other retailers and other buyers, right? What they do is we have a prepaid system where the spots are occupied and it's paid for on a monthly basis. And with that, you have no lining up to use the facilities. You drive in and you park your spots and you do your trading. What it also does is give us a real-time view of what spots are empty or not and how we can involve other people who may be waiting on the sidelines to come and use it. And because of this efficiency, it helps generate increased revenue for the organization and makes trading a whole lot easier at these facilities. Next slide, please. Because of the implementation and adoption of some of these digitization, we've had substantial benefits as we're able to understand our facilities and how to maximize them because we have real-time data. We all know farmers are traditionally reluctant to adopt digitization and they don't see the benefits of how it can help them. But once we demonstrated to them that it can increase profits, gradually it's being adopted. Because for them, they want to see something tangible. We just can't be talking it. They want to know that, hey, the two main things for them is time, would it increase the amount of time I spend in the market? But most importantly, once we can show that the bottom line, profits and money increases, they will adapt it over time. Well, that's our hope and assumption, and it's happened so far. Right? We have some other planned initiatives that we want to develop and go into. We want to adapt drone technology to help us to map our agricultural assets and data collection to show what acreage is under cultivation right now, where we could cultivate, and all this is an attempt to plan the nation's food security, right? Which is a big thing now with COVID and our ability to feed ourselves and looking at restrictions on imports and the effect it would have on us, okay? What NAMDEVCO has also done recently is we've invited proposal from vendors for a computerized maintenance management system for the maintenance of our facility, fully supported by our board and CEO. And we're looking into it right now to make management and operations seamless and efficient. Next slide, please. So I think I was brief. Are there any questions which you all may have? I'm around to answer it at any given time. Shivani?
Thank you very much, Charlton. Vivian, thank you very much. Vivian, how are you? Thank you very much for that. So wonderful presentation. And what are some of my takeaway points from that? Some of my takeaway points. NAMDEVCO, I love the idea of the drones. I love the idea of the drones, a wonderful initiative with NAMDEVCO. I've also seen another main takeaway from your presentation, really the idea of the app that I know you spoke about that UWI is involved with the app to give real-time data. So very, very important now with data and decision making. You know, you need real-time data to make decisions. And this is what digital transformation will teach us, will tell us, will help us to improve. We will get the data to improve our processes and to really move forward. So I love the idea of the drone. I think that's an excellent thing to get, as you were saying, about the agricultural sector, to know what we have, what we don't have, that where people do not have to go physically, but you could use the drone technology to do it. Also, the prepaid system of traders. That is definitely something that is improving NAMDEFCO, I think, where you could, as you said, to increase revenue, prepaid traders. So it's a good use of digital, and how we can know who is part of the traders, who is a trader, who's coming in, who's not coming in, and what you have and what you don't have. So you have a ticket then. It's a ticket system for prepaid system of traders. So those were some of my key points, definitely, in terms of the app development, prepaid system, and the drone technology. So again, you are speaking about the different types of technology, what you could use for digital transformation, and also, you're speaking about change management and keep talking about it from people's point of view. So thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for that, Vivian. And I know we'll have some questions. So we definitely will take it at the end. If there are none now, we'll take it at the end. And I will now introduce the final speaker, Ms. Janelle Stephen. Janelle Stephen, who is a senior business analyst at the IS department at Guardian General Insurance Limited. She has been working at Guardian for over 6 years. She has previously been working on Wall Street, Goldman Sachs, to be more specific, for 5 years, having been fortunate enough to be given the opportunity to work with the Fortune 500. So, definitely Janelle is coming to share a lot of information as a business analyst in terms of digital transformation and how relevant business analyst is to this whole conversation. So Janelle, over to you now. Over to you, Janelle. Janine, we're not hearing you. Your mic.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'll start over. So my name is Janelle Stephen, and I'm currently a senior business analyst at Guardian General Insurance Limited. I was fortunate enough to work, as Shivani mentioned, at Goldman Sachs, which is on a Fortune 500 company on Wall Street. And I was lucky to be given that opportunity after I did an internship with them while I was studying systems and computer science at Howard University, Washington, DC. Now, I am here to kind of give you my perspective from a technology view. I consider myself a technocrat. I also consider myself a bookaholic, because when you reach a point when somebody sends you a video of a floor-to-floor bookcase filled with books and tells you, Janelle, only you would appreciate something like this, and you actually do, you know you have a problem. So let's dive right in. Next slide. So I'm going to go into the background. Let's talk about digitalization, digital transformation. So next slide. So it seems to be the new buzzword. We are hearing about digital transformation, digital disruption, digitization, digitalization. We even have a ministry of public administration and digital transformation. So, but what does all of this really mean? Now, my goal is to make this a little bit clearer for you based on my work experience in the financial services industry, having been fortunate enough to work both on digital transformation projects and projects involving automation. Next slide. So before we continue, I'm just going to kind of give you some definitions. That's the nerd in me. So digitization is the conversion of text, pictures, or sound into a digital form. So it could be processed by a computer. So when you think about digitalization, think about soft copy. So when you scan a book or you have your document and you get that PDF and JPEG or MP3 for music, and that becomes data that can be processed and stored on the computer. And just to be a little more nerdier, it is stored on the computer as a number, a binary number that's made up of zeros and ones. Now, digitalization. So now I'm finished. I have the ability to digitize. Digitalization is how you change those processes and your business operations so that you can use these digitized texts and images. So the focus with digitalization is on process. Digital transformation is now that you have a digitalization in place with your change processes to cater for digitalization. Then you are focusing on how you can change your business to do things better with the support of both your leadership and the employees. And with digital transformation, the focus is on people. Next slide. So you might be saying, okay, I'm going to jump on the digitalization bandwagon or digital transformation bandwagon, and I'm going to buy my software. Or I'm going to get a vendor to build an app for me, a web portal. I'm going to put that out there and I'm all good. But you aren't really. If you don't strategically determine how digitalization can change the way you do business by analyzing your people, your processes, and your pain points, all you would have done is put money into somebody else's pocket and frustrate your clients and perhaps your employees. You need to analyze how digitalization and digital transformation can change and improve the way you do business. The customer's experience, the employee's experience, how the software is integrated into your existing business workflow, and how it's going to allow you to do things better, faster, and more efficiently. So it's not something you just buy and plug into the organization. It doesn't only involve technology, as some of the previous speakers had mentioned. It is actually the ongoing process of changing the way that you do business. And a word of caution, please do not buy into the hyper vendors. You know, at times they're just trying to close a sale. Next slide. So what is involved? So what you have to do is invest. You are investing in your software projects. You're investing in your skill sets, your training. You're investing in cleaning up your legacy systems. And it involves a combination of people, software, and hardware. It requires continual monitoring and intervention. It is not an overnight process. It is not a one-step process. Think Kaizen, continuous improvement. Next. So now let's look at why digitalization. So next slide, please. Now, if you think about this world that we have to operate in, all businesses, the government, etc., we have to operate in a VUCA world. And that means volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And COVID-19 has been a testimony to this. Now, during the lockdown, I came across this meme and we all laughed, right, when we read it. Who led the digital transformation of your company? And it's true. There is an element of truth because COVID-19 literally forced us to change the way that we do business. But it's not all bad because COVID-19 actually has done something for us that we would have never had in place. It removed some of the resistance by our less tech-savvy customers. Next slide. So I'm going to give you an example of Blockbuster. Actually, I'm familiar with them because I knew them when I was at school. In 2004, Blockbuster was a 6 billion in revenue company. Netflix was actually trailing behind. 6 years later, In 2010, Netflix was a $2.2 billion company and Blockbuster was bankrupt. 6 years. What made the difference? Blockbuster did not take the cue of their customers' preference to stream movies from the comfort of their home. They failed at digital transformation. So even if we didn't have COVID-19 forcing us to focus on digital transformation efforts, it should be at the forefront of a company's strategy. And Blockbuster is proof of this. Next slide. So from the previous example, what did we learn? Businesses have to innovate and adapt permanently in order to remain competitive, especially if your competitors are changing the way business is done through technology and innovation. Digital disruption can change the status quo. A well-known business can easily become obsolete and an unknown business can take the lead. And Netflix is testimony to this. And always remember, it is not an overnight process. It is not a one-step process. It is continuous improvement. Think of Kaizen. Next slide. So let's put on our thinking caps for a minute. And I want you to think, how could digitalization improve things at my company or place of work? Well, it's obvious, or maybe not so obvious. Provide customer convenience, improve the ease of doing business, operational efficiency through automation, by allowing clients to self-service so they can go and find out information on their own. They can get automatic updates, do queries. So by doing this, it will have your staff will be able to spend their time doing more meaningful work. Next slide. So let's look at the challenges involved because digitalization is not an easy task. You must strengthen the core of what you already have while building for the future at the same time. Think of it as changing a plane's engine while flying. But make sure that you innovate from the bottom up. Allow staff to drive the innovation. Don't lose what you currently do in your excitement to innovate. Because if you digitalize and you are not good in this digital transformation effort, it can negatively impact your employees, your bottom line, and your customers. Next. So let's look now at what key components we need to look at when thinking about developing a digital strategy. So we have to look at our business strategy. And what you should do is while developing your business strategy is you need to monitor. See what works and what doesn't. You have to be agile, as Shivani mentioned, using data. You have to experiment. So you can develop a proof of concept, which is before you go all gung-ho in developing some software system with all these various features and a very wide scope, start very narrow. Do what is called a proof of concept. Do minimal features. Put it in front of your customers in a focus group. Put it in front of your staff. Get their feedback. Because people find it very difficult to say if something will work or not work, if it's on a piece of paper, if it's on a PowerPoint. But if they can interact it, if they can touch it, if they can play with it, then they will be able to tell you, okay, this will work or this will not work. Then you have the concept of A and B testing. So for example, you are building a site, allowing your clients to be able to pay online, right? And perhaps you are debating with the members of the team, one version versus the other. You're saying, there's one implementation that is more easy to use than the other. You may be right, you may be wrong, or nobody may be right. But what you can do is A and B testing. Have select clients, when they go on the site, every other client, every third client use a different version of the software. So then you will be sure, based on the client's response to the software, if your hypothesis is correct, which one is simpler to use, which one is more effective. And please start small. Don't be too ambitious. Rome wasn't built in a day. Focus on one key area, a specific use case or scenario or department, and work on that. When you're successful, build on that success. When you're not successful, learn from the experience. Look at what goes wrong and just keep improving. All right, it's Kaizen, it's continuous improvement. Next slide. And then what you have to look at is your operations and value chain. You have to ensure that you have buy-in. So innovate from the ground up, involve your staff, not only the ones involved in the project. Other members of staff, even if they're not part of the project team, they can become subject matter experts. They can be involved in the quality assurance. They can be part of user acceptance testing. Meet with your employees. They know the pain points. Make them part of the process so they become invested in ensuring that this digital transformation succeed. And they just feel like if this change is just being shoved down their throat. Get their input, document it. And better yet, how about actually implementing some of the features to address their concerns or some of the suggestions that they have made so they feel like they have the ability to innovate within the organization. In addition, look at your change management process. Communicate. It's so important. Be transparent. And when you're getting resistance, don't view it as a negative thing. If you have resistance, then try to understand their perspective, because sometimes when you understand their perspective, you can actually end up with a better process or better product. So in order for you to have a balanced digital transformation effort, you need the persons who are the naysayers, who are negative, because when you can address their concerns, then you know you have really succeeded. And also, of course, look at your customers. How do you currently engage your customers? See the world from their perspective. Are they tech savvy? Are there any roadblocks to them adopting the new software system? What processes do they find time consuming? And what do the customers want to do for themselves? Not what you want them to do, but what are they willing to do for themselves? And how can you make that as easy as possible for them? Next slide. And you have to, the most important thing, look at your organizational structure and your workflow. If you just build software and have it in isolation, it is not going to succeed. You can have the most wonderful software in the world, and if it is not integrated into the existing system effectively, it will fail. No matter how brilliant that software is, no matter how expensive it is, no matter how many features that software has. Your operational processes have to change in order to incorporate this new software. And of course, look at your return on investment. Sometimes we forget we are a Caribbean country, especially when we're dealing with foreign vendors or we're dealing with vendors who are accustomed to dealing with very big clients. So when you're looking at your outlay, be mindful of the amount of money you're spending and how you're going to get that return. Also, when looking at software, be very careful in terms of, especially those out-of-the-box solutions. You don't have to take all the features that are being offered. It doesn't make sense spending money on a software system and you're only using 50% of it. And question everything. You may not be an expert on technology, but you are an expert on your business and on your market. So work with the technology experts, be their partner and work with them together. Next slide. So you may be thinking, okay, I think I want to pursue digital transformation in a different way based on some of the things I've seen before. So what are your next steps? So I just had a few questions that you could consider going forward. So think about, what are your customers saying about your company, about your competitors? What are my staff and consultants and vendors saying about our processes? Both positive and negative, because if you're doing things right, you want to keep doing those things right or improve it. And if you're doing things badly, of course, you want to improve it. And then you should also ask yourself, next slide, if there is the possibility of digital disruption that could have an impact to your business. You don't want to be the next blockbuster. Is there any way our processes could be improved, made more efficient? Any redundancies, any bottlenecks, any issues? And what are our current processes? Now, you may think that you know what your current processes are, but until you start to get those processes down on paper, you're going to be surprised. Because sometimes you have two departments doing the same thing. Sometimes you have a lot of inefficiencies you were not aware of. And sometimes in the process, you can actually tweak processes without even having software involved. And sometimes, due to the lack of handing over, when someone leaves the company or moves to another department, you will find that the processes change or regulations change and the processes have not been changed to suit. So this improvement of processes should be an ongoing effort. And digitalization is not just about technology. It's about your process, it's about your people, and it's about getting rid of your pain points. Next slide. And I just have a quick little blurb here just for reference, what the gap analysis looks like. So your desired state, this is the vision of your future, and your current state, this is where you are. And what you do is you try to figure out, okay, what do we need to do to get to this future state? And you come up with a little plan. And the flow chart with swim lanes, and it's called swim lanes. The swim lanes actually represent the different departments or software system. So a flow chart just shows steps in an operational process in a visual way. And the flow chart, the swim lanes are each department's responsibility for different steps. So once a particular department is responsible for those steps, it will be captured in that particular swim lane. And next slide. And thank you for your attention. And I hope this was helpful to you. And please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn.
Thank you very much, Janelle, for that wonderful presentation. Your perspective as a business analyst, actually, at Guardian. And, it is something that is so true, Janelle, from all the presentations. We keep talking about technology and technology. But before we could implement anything, we have to understand what is the current state of our operation and what is the future state of our operation to comprehend all of our processes. And I loved how you showed the swim lane, that particular diagram. That is my diagram, current state to future state. I love that. And how we need to do a gap analysis. It comes back to the conversation from the beginning to the end. Over and over, we cannot just think about digital transformation as technology alone. There's a lot more to go into this thing, to become digital and to transform. We have to really see, Janelle, the importance of the business analyst here in digital transformation. It is a key role because this is the responsibility of a BA to capture the requirements, to understand your processes. So you had so many interesting points for me here, and I think you closed up the presenter part very, very well in ensuring that we understand it's much more than technology. It's about processes, but it's really about understanding what are the correct processes. Because just to give an example, we want to install computer management maintenance systems and all different things in organizations to go digital. And what you may realize, Janelle, at the end of the day, when you install this system, it did not answer the problem. The problem is that you don't have to computerize. An Excel spreadsheet could probably work. You know what is the problem? The problem may have been some processes or some process flow in facilities management. So it is a very interesting thing you said, that we have to understand our current processes, and then what are the future processes, and then you get buy-in from everything. So there are a few questions before we talk. There are a few questions. The questions here are from, I think, Cindy. And Cindy, yes, Cindy had a very, very important question here, I think. Does the Ministry of Works and Transport new approach take into consideration the service delivery to other client ministries in terms of integrating processes across ministries? I think that is for Shazim. Cindy's question, does the MOWT need approach take into consideration the service delivery to other client ministry in terms of integrating processes across ministries?
Thank you, Cindy, very much for that question. I am not dealing with that goal directly. However, I am certain that another division is treating with it, because we deal with a lot of ministries. We assist a lot of ministries, I would say, based on the works that we do. So I'm certain the IT department or another section is looking at this, in terms of making business easier, with the integration processes, as you said, a lot easier. I could share probably some more information on that, via email or.
Thank you very much, Shazim, for that. Right, so we definitely can take further questions on that and get back to you. Cindy. Cindy is a popular name. I know Cindy. Cindy have another question, I think. So let me just get the other questions that is coming in here. Another question that we have. Few questions. Will the web TMA system include for government lease properties? Will the web TMA system include for government lease properties? Shazim.
Another wonderful question. Lease properties, we can use it, of course. The web TMA license that we have is an open license.
Yeah,
so we can
I
use
think
all
so,
the
with license,
in web TMA. Yeah, so it's something that can be done. The lease properties that we have, we normally have the landlord deal with the services, but of course we could use the web TMA to do a PM plan, so that they can follow it in accordance with the ministry's contract. So it's something that we could implement into the web TMA to track the actual work that has to be done. Of course, it's a work in progress. So based on the features that I've seen, we will have to. It can be done, yes, and yes, it could be provided for lease properties. It can be provided for all properties. It's all about how the contracts are set up. Okay.
Yeah, and as you correctly said, it will have a lot to do with the license that is purchased, and how many can come on board. So thank you for that question, those two questions, Cindy. And Akash got another question, Akash Mohan, another familiar name. Given the challenges with funded with the aim to reduce expenditure, does the strategic plan of the MOWT include moving towards a paperless process as a whole? And is this being looked at GORTT level? I think that's the government you're talking about, Akash, right? The government of Tobago. Yeah. So
yes,
we could
another
definitely,
great question.
Yeah, we'll definitely send you some more information on that too, Akash, right? We are taking questions in the chat, and of course, definitely we will reply to us all of the questions, because there are so many coming in. So thank you very much, everyone, for being part of this digital transformation. Could I have the last slide, please? So thank you everyone for being part, all the viewers. We had a lot of viewers on YouTube and Facebook throughout the region. A very interesting presentation. I had a good time, I had a very, very good time, and there are lots of questions that we will address again. I would like the opportunity, give me the opportunity, please, thank you, to really thank all of the presenters, you know, who contributed to this conversation of digital transformation. Carla Williams Johnson from Kali Communications, Shazim Suban from Ministry of Works and Transport, Vivian Mahaber from NABDEFCO, Janelle Stephen from Guardian Group. Next slide, please. And, you know, to sum up all of the presenters and what they have been, I have to say, conversing about, understanding the 6 pillars of digital transformation beyond technology. Pillar 1 is experiences. Everybody spoke about the experiences. Pillar 2, people. Pillar 3, change. Pillar 4, innovation. Pillar 5, leadership. And pillar 6, culture. So definitely we are leaving with this slide as we continue the conversation in upcoming webinars on digital transformation, everybody. We're going to have lots of conversation on e-commerce. We have lots of project controls, facilities management, low-touch economy, all contributing to digital transformation. It's a webinar series that we are doing on the digital transformation as we go forward. So once again, everybody, we got lots of questions, and definitely put it in the chat. There is an email address that we have up. Please send it to us, digital.transformation.project@dec.uwi.edu. And for all of those who registered for the webinar, definitely we would be emailing you the presentation. But any other questions, please, you know, you may want to know a little more about the presenter. By all means, send us an email and we can give you that information on the speaker. So thank you once again, everybody. And until next time, pleasant night, everyone. Thank you, everyone.